Here we are. Here we are. Wow. It feels like we're right in the middle of everything. Our process, our task is to hold conflict, not to resolve conflict. Is that what makes a focusing conversation is not how the speakers are necessarily speaking in that moment, but it's how the group is receiving the communication that makes it a focusing conversation.
When I reflect on what is a felt shift, my answer to that is a felt shift is something that doesn't fix the issue or burden that you're carrying, but it puts you in a different relationship to it so that life can move forward. We're not only holding, but in the holding, there is a flow toward coming to a new place. And
the holding is that you don't collapse into, say, so-and-so's side or the other person's side.
No, to my tendency, to my old like childhood tendency of avoiding conflict. So the adult me is happy to be here.
This fear of like, oh my God, like something is going on and they're doing it this way. And then there was like an urge in me that wanted to come out and like control the situation because it just felt so dangerous.
You know, this one in me that doesn't want people to have any conflicts, wants everybody to get along with each other, or else it feels very scary.
And so I was kind of like, oh, that's so cool. There's just like I just was with some conflict and know how to hold it a bit more. And now here it is for me to hold by myself.
I was deeply activated by what Isabel shared. Because I feel such a longing for us being able to talk about that kind of things, like the real serious things that are happening in the world today, connected. I do think that our ability to deal with interpersonal conflict strengthens our ability to deal with difficult things in the world. And I do think we did really, really, really good work here last time.
For me, it is much easier to talk about what's happening in the world than what happens here. And boundaries being set and not being respected. And then I felt that I need to say it. And I feel like
you felt a responsibility to address, to say, to bring out that it felt that cursing feels destructive to you, and that it feels also destructive to bring up something that happens in the focusing.
It's like a Saturday Night Live skit in that the war room team, the in-group team, is talking about what's happening. And the rest of us are outside to watch the in-group video. So that struck me a little amiss.
And the space that I was in was having to witness yet again this is very raw for me, because today I have not watched that video. I mean, the video of Mr. Nichols, Tyre Nichols. I haven't watched that video. But what I did do today was read a sort of like a timeline investigation in the New York Times. And so that's very alive for me. That the conflict that is arising in this group, it's almost like a prelude. I don't know if that's to being able to be in the space with someone and be in conflict or in disagreement and still hold their humanity and still hold them as a whole and not just as the conflict. And Marvin, acknowledging that this was a moment of you feeling like we were just, you know, talking behind people's back, it's what I'm gonna use here. And that doesn't feel okay with you. Right? So thank you
got
for
it.
bringing that forward.
I love that reflection, Isabel. We were talking behind your back. Wow, I like that.
I'm curious, Isabel, what is your struggle on a weekly basis of being here? Can you be more explicit in sharing with us? If you want, you don't have to.
Struggle, and I have to say this, is I'm a person of color in a Black body, which is very different than being a person of color that it's a body of culture, right? And there's things that have happened in the Black community, and then we come here and it's business as usual. It's business as usual. And so my struggle, Abby, is to coming here and having to decide which part of me am I gonna let come forward or be in the front, right? And I don't know that everyone else is struggling with that. Maybe you too. I don't mean you, but I mean, maybe everyone is struggling with which part it's gonna step forward, right? Again, it's not a struggle with the people as much as it is an internal struggle.
Yes,
And I
yes.
hope that, right? Like, I come here and who do I bring? Do I bring the mother of 2 Black men who are out here in the world and any minute could be dead just because they Black? Do I bring the woman who's been married who's been with a wife for 29 years?
I want to ask for maybe your perception of how I should view the fact that this young Black man who was murdered by 5 Black men. And it's confusing. It's perplexing to me because it's easy to talk about racism.
Can I have a pause? Can I have a pause?
Please.
And yeah, I just need a pause. And I feel a real need not to go to the next thing, but to stay with Isabel in this, if that's okay with people.
Yeah, I was trying to say the same thing. That's a very concerning lead.
Can I reflect back to you what you said, Isabel, in answer to my question? I feel like, is that a good place to maybe stay with?
For me, one of the biggest pieces here is that I am not a fragmented human being. That I should be able to come in here with all of who I am. And that the fact that I have to choose who to bring forward, it's painful. That here I am every time with joy, because I'm here with joy, which is, for some of my friends, it's hard to understand. How can you be there with joy when you talk about all the suffering?
What is a small step in terms of our, for example, in terms of our interaction one with another, that would enable the whole of you to come forward without reservation?
I love this, Joe, because this right now, it's one of the things that keeps me from coming with the whole of me. It is precisely that question or that kind of question that keeps the whole of me from coming forward. And what it's arising for me, it's not that what should I tell you, but it's really what internally you, and I mean all of us, should be connecting with to hold that person, whoever that person may be. Because now the onus is on me
Again.
to say, well, as a Black person, as a gay person, to tell you this, that, and that's the part that feels overwhelming. And I'm also not here representing Black people
Mhm,
or
mhm.
Latinx.
I'm glad it's recorded. Isabel said some beautiful things about holding conflict and still holding one another's humanity, which I feel like could sort of be the title of what this is all about. I was hearing an invitation of which I would love to receive, and all of us to receive, of sort of what would make you, what would help you feel invited to be more welcome. And there's so much trauma of Black people, of Jewish people. There's so much trauma that we all carry, that it seems like the question, instead of it being able to be taken, here's this middle-aged white man saying, how can we receive you more? And and I get it. There's kind of like a fuck you.
I didn't hear what Isabel said as a fuck you at all. I heard it as a very skillful, wow, look at this. Let's look at this right now. It's just huge. And so I feel like you've already shared, like you've already answered Joe's question. You've already answered everybody's question. You've already shared about yourself. You've already said, I have 2 Black sons, and I don't feel like we've really taken that in. Like people don't know. And when we hear it, then we're responsible for trying to never do that again. I remember the first time a Black person said to me, it is not my job to help you except me. I heard that. And I have such mourning, Rosa, that's the word that it is for me, mourning at how slow we are to know.
I just need a breath. Not more than that.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you, but I just need to breathe for a second. There's so much here on the plate.
Yes. This pattern that we're seeing here comes up over and over again. And it's something that I've yet to find a place for in me, because I, one, resonate with being a person of color, especially during the hate crimes, and saw the suffering and being excluded, and exactly what Isabel's saying, right? Like growing up in the Deep South and in the redneck countries of Virginia, I've been there. But I also see the earnestness of the other side, of people who desperately say, like, I really just don't know even where to start. And there's a heart and wanting, and there just doesn't seem like there's a middle point in which we can meet without the rehashing of the pain and then feeling the burden, and the other side feeling this sense of helplessness. And it feels like there isn't a connective bridge being built in some ways. Like it's kind of like what is possible for the two sides to come together. Like the side doesn't know, it wants to know. The side is in pain, it doesn't want to keep diving into the pain. Like I'm not sure I have the solution, but I'm just saying this is like something that I see over and over again. And like what is possible? Because yeah, it's like, how can we hold the pain, and how can we create education to hold the pain?
And how can we hold you, Isabel, as a whole person, your humanity, just not just parts. I don't know if I'm totally off here or not, but you're a wonderful person who adds so much to the group. I want to be able to hold you And I guess that's what we're needing to do with holding our conflicts, holding one another, who we are.
Here and wanting to not only meet Isabel, but to meet this greater issue. How could 5 officers, Black officers, kill this Black man? Because, you know, our society has made it so that whether you're a Black person killing another Black person, it's okay to pummel someone who has a Black body to death. I feel angry about that, and I feel yeah, so that's really it.
If you want to learn, you know, start out. There are books, there are movies, there are, you know, it's like there's so much we can do to begin to learn about the experience of people.
For me, the way that it happens is to be close to people. I understand it by getting close to people who are experiencing it. And I've learned so much, Isabel, from being close with you and developing an inner Isabel.
This was a person of color who said angrily, "Do I have to teach you about my people and what's happened?" And I felt kind of taken aback. And there's a part of me that feels I do want to be in need to be taught. It's Isabel, you bringing this self here speaks, and I can hear, and that to me is a learning.
And there's part of me that's holding back some anger at this point. And I have to ask you to think about how the words of this impact someone like myself when I read the words, "I'm sick of mediating with your worst self on behalf you, your better selves. I am sick of having to remind you to breathe before you suffocate your own fool self. Forget it, stretch or drown, evolve or die." Now, I understand that reflects the intensity of the feeling. If I take those words personally and say, oh my gosh, if that's what she really means, why should I even bother? If you're not able to tell me how we might move forward, or at least have a discussion around that, who else should I go to? Because I value your life experience. I value what you bring to all of us here. But if you're saying, hey, I'm not responsible for solving this, I'm not asking you to be responsible. I'm saying, walk with me. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think that the last line in this poem, it's really what brings it home for me. I must be the bridge to nowhere, but to my true self. And then I will be useful. I think for me, it's important that I am aware of my own struggle before I jump to solve someone else's. Everyone here, there's not a week that I come here and there's not some nugget, something that's offered that I can use and digest and see how it applies to me and how I can move through navigating life. I apologize if that landed in the way it landed on you, and it didn't mean to erase you. It didn't mean to erase you and who you are and what you offer.
I understand that. And my experience in life has been that yes, I have responsibility for discovering my true self, But what I've also discovered is I can't do that alone. I have to walk with people who love me and are able to hold me and be with me. I mean, in focusing, the value of a companion being with me as I focus is huge because it allows me to go to places I would never be able to go by myself.
I am here, which means I'm not intending to walk alone. I am here by choice, people. Let it be known. If that's not clear, I'm here by choice. I'm here by choice every single time with me.
I don't see you as the one that the poem wishes you were dead, but somebody very different.
The feeling that I'm having in response to this is it's like this warmth. I just have this warmth, and I have this like almost like joy, which is interesting in response to this conflict. Like my experience of Isabel, like with you, Isabel, is one of like just joy, like pleasure, just like a gulf of difference. But it's like this, I see this difference and I see, wow, like look at this human, and it's like there's laughter and there's connection and there's acceptance and love and understanding. And to me, it strikes me as like that's the way forward. And if you come and if I do something to offend, or if you do something to offend, the intimacy is there that I can share that and you can share that with me. And through that pain, it's like, oh wow, that hurts, accepting that and then working through it together and still seeing the value and enjoying the other person through that.
Okay, you are a group of Americans or North Americans, and you have your own culture and bringing up everything based on American culture. So I feel a little bit left out. But I come here because I really am touched with your intention, trying to understand more deeply about other people and about yourself. This intention that I can sense, even though I don't understand fully, but it's so beautiful. And maybe you express it as using the word holding. I am deeply moved by people's positive attitude to accept whatever comes, like focusing. And also what Joe said, that we need other people to understand oneself better.
I have lots of words. I'm debating whether I should make you turn off the recording first, but I think I'd rather just not say them actually.